The stars around Proxima Centauri looked peaceful that morning. Admiral Kyung-ho sipped his coffee on the bridge of the defense station, watching the mining ships work their slow dance around the asteroids. Everything was normal. Everything was quiet. Then the sensors started screaming. "Sir, we have contacts," Ensign Haben called out from her station. "Lots of them." Kyung-ho set down his cup and walked to the main display. What he saw made his blood run cold. 500 ships had just dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the system. They were big. They were armed. And they were heading straight for the human colonies. "Get me a line to all our ships," Kyung-ho ordered. His voice was calm, but his hands were shaking slightly. 50 ships. That was all they had. 50 ships against 500 alien vessels. The communication came through minutes later. The alien voice was cold and mechanical. "Primitive species of this system," the voice said in perfect English. "You will surrender immediately. Resistance will result in your complete destruction. You have 1 standard hour to decide." Commander Sujin was already strapping into her fighter when the message ended. She had been expecting this day for years. Everyone in the Colonial Defense Force knew that humanity would eventually meet hostile aliens. They just hoped it would be later rather than sooner. "All fighters, this is Sujin," she broadcast to her squadron. "We knew this day would come. Our families are on those stations. Our friends are on those mining ships. We don't run. We fight." The response came back immediately from 20 other pilots. "Copy that, Commander. Ready to engage." Captain Boram was having similar thoughts on her destroyer, the Busan Runner. Her ship was old, built in the yards around Mars 30 years ago. But she was solid, and her crew knew how to fight. "Weapons online," called her tactical officer, Lieutenant Jin Ho. "All systems green." Boram nodded. "Signal the Admiral. Busan Runner is ready for combat." Admiral Kyung-ho looked at his tactical display. The alien fleet was massive, but something about their formation bothered him. They were moving in straight lines, perfect formations that never changed. It was like watching a parade, not a military assault. "Analysis, Lieutenant Wu Jin?" he asked his intelligence officer. "Sir, their formation is too perfect. No variation, no scouts ahead, no reserve forces. They're acting like they've never fought a real battle before." Kyung-ho nodded slowly. "Maybe they haven't. Send the signal to all ships. Engage at will." The battle began badly for the humans. The alien ships were bigger, their shields were stronger, and they had more weapons. But within minutes, something strange started happening. Commander Sujin dove her fighter straight at a massive alien cruiser, dodging their laser fire with moves that seemed impossible. Her fighter was tiny compared to the alien ship, but she knew something they didn't. Human fighters were built to be unpredictable. She rolled left, then right, then suddenly cut her engines and dropped straight down. The alien gunners, controlled by computers, tried to track her movement but failed completely. By the time they figured out where she was, Sujin had already fired her missiles into their engine ports. The cruiser exploded in a ball of blue fire. "That's one," Sujin called over the radio. "These things can't handle random movement patterns." Captain Boram heard the message and smiled grimly. She ordered her helmsman to begin what military doctrine called erratic maneuvering. Instead of flying straight at the enemy like they expected, the Busan Runner began weaving through space like a drunken bird. The alien ships couldn't hit her. Their weapons were designed to target ships that moved in predictable patterns. But humans had learned long ago that the best way to survive in space combat was to be completely unpredictable. Boram brought her ship close to an alien battleship and fired everything she had. The alien shields flared and died. Her second volley punched straight through their armor like it was paper. "Their shields are strong against energy weapons," she reported to the fleet, "but they're weak against kinetic rounds. Switch to railguns and missiles." Across the battle zone, human ships began switching tactics. Instead of trying to match the aliens' superior firepower, they started using speed, maneuverability, and unpredictability. Lieutenant Park Min-kyu, commanding a small patrol boat, actually flew inside the hangar bay of an alien carrier and started shooting everything inside. The aliens had never seen anything like it. Ensign Lee. Sua used her ship's mining lasers to cut the weapons off alien cruisers. Before they could fire back, Commander Jang Hyun-sik somehow managed to ram his damaged frigate into the command tower of the alien flagship, taking out their communications. High Commander Vexutar watched the battle from his command ship and felt something he had never experienced before. Fear. This was impossible. His fleet was 10 times larger than the human force. His ships were more advanced. His weapons were more powerful. So why were his ships exploding one by one? Status report, he demanded. Sir, we've lost 60 ships, his tactical officer reported. The humans have lost 12. Vextar stared at the display. The human ships were moving in patterns that made no sense. They would attack from one direction, then suddenly appear somewhere completely different. Their fighters flew like insects, impossible to hit or predict. How are they doing this? He asked. Unknown, sir. Their tactics don't match anything in our databases. On the human side, Admiral Kyung-ho was equally surprised, but for different reasons. The alien ships were powerful, but they fought like machines. They never adapted, never changed their tactics, never tried anything unexpected. Sir, called Lieutenant Wu Jin, I think I understand what's happening. These aliens have never fought anyone who fought back. Look at their weapons. They're designed for orbital bombardment, not ship-to-ship combat. Kyung-ho looked at the tactical data and nodded grimly. They're used to bullying people who can't fight back. Send a message to all ships. Press the attack. These things don't know how to handle a real fight. The battle turned into a rout. Commander Soo-jin destroyed 3 more cruisers before her fuel ran low. Captain Boram's destroyer punched through the alien center line and started attacking from behind. The entire alien formation began to collapse. High Commander Vextar made a decision that no Zephyrian commander had made in over 1,000 years. He ordered a retreat. All ships withdraw immediately, he broadcast. Emergency hyperspace jump now. The surviving alien ships, less than half of the original fleet, vanished into hyperspace. Admiral Kyung-ho stood on his bridge, looking at the debris field where the alien fleet had been. His small force had just defeated an armada 10 times their size. Sir, Ensign Haben said quietly. Command is asking for a full report. Kyung-ho nodded. Tell them we made first contact. Tell them the aliens were hostile. And tell them we won. What Admiral Kyung-ho didn't know was that his small force of 50 ships was about to become the most feared military unit in galactic history. The aliens he had just defeated controlled 10,000 star systems, and they were about to learn that this wasn't even humanity's real army. Emperor Zixthon sat on his crystal throne, staring at the holographic report floating in front of him. The numbers couldn't be real. A scout fleet of 500 ships defeated by 50 primitive vessels. It was impossible. Explain this to me again, he said to High Commander Vextar, who knelt before the throne. Your Majesty. Vextar began, his voice trembling. The humans fought unlike anything we have ever encountered. Their ships moved in impossible patterns. Their tactics made no sense. They seemed to predict our every move. The Emperor's eyes glowed with anger. Are you telling me that a primitive species defeated the mighty Zephyrian fleet through luck? No, Your Majesty. It was not luck. They knew exactly what they were doing. Emperor Zixthon stood up from his throne, his 12-foot frame casting shadows across the vast throne room. For 1,000 years, the Zephyrian Empire had expanded across the galaxy. Every species they encountered either surrendered immediately or was destroyed within days. Mobilize the 7th Sector Fleet, he commanded. 2,000 ships, 50 million troops. I want this human infestation removed from the galaxy. Meanwhile on Earth, Admiral Tae-wan was reading the same battle reports in his office at Terran Defense Headquarters. The morning sun streamed through the windows, but his mood was dark. Admiral Kyung-ho did well, said Captain Hye-jung, standing at attention beside his desk. 50 ships against 500. Those are incredible odds. Yes, but now we have a bigger problem, Tae-wan replied. If these Zephyrians are as powerful as our intelligence suggests, they won't just give up. They'll send more ships, Captain Hye-jung nodded. What are your orders, sir? Contact Admiral Ji-woo. Tell her to prepare the home fleet for possible deployment. And get me Dr. Min Seo. I want to know everything about these aliens. Dr. Min Seo arrived an hour later, carrying a tablet full of data collected from the battle. She was young for her position as head of xenobiology, but her mind was brilliant. Admiral, she said, I've analyzed the wreckage from the alien ships. What I found is very interesting. She activated a holographic display showing the internal structure of a Zephyrian cruiser. Look at their weapon systems, she continued. These aren't designed for ship-to-ship combat. They're built for orbital bombardment. The aliens have been fighting defenseless planets, not space battles. Admiral Tae-wan leaned forward, What does that mean? It means they've never fought anyone who could fight back. Their entire military doctrine is based on overwhelming primitive civilizations, not engaging in actual warfare. Captain Hyajung spoke up. So they're bullies, not soldiers. Exactly. But here's the concerning part. Dr. Mincio changed the display to show star charts. Based on their technology level and ship construction, I estimate they control at least 10,000 star systems. That's a lot of resources, even if they don't know how to use them properly. Admiral Taewan stood up and walked to the window. Outside, he could see the defense platforms orbiting Earth, their weapons pointed toward the stars. How long before they can organize a counterattack? He asked. Unknown, sir, but if I had to guess, I'd say within a few weeks. They'll probably send a much larger force this time. 3 weeks later, long-range sensors detected the approaching Zephyrian fleet. Admiral Kyung-ho, still at Proxima Centauri, sent an immediate message to Earth. Incoming fleet, approximately 2,000 ships. They'll be here in 6 hours, requesting immediate support. Admiral Taewan was in the middle of a meeting when the message arrived. He read it twice, then looked up at the assembled officers. Gentlemen, ladies, it appears we're going to war. Admiral Jiwoo, how quickly can you deploy the home fleet? Admiral Jiwoo was a small woman, but her reputation was legendary. She had commanded the home fleet for 15 years and had never lost a battle. 4 hours, sir. 200 ships fully armed and ready for combat. Do it. And Admiral Jiwoo, take the Incheon's Pride. I have a feeling we're going to need our biggest guns for this one. The Incheon's Pride was humanity's most powerful warship. Built in the orbital shipyards around Jupiter, it was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to destroy a small moon. As the home fleet prepared for departure, Commander Dong Hyun was reviewing tactical data on his battleship, the Seoul Defender. Unlike Admiral Kyung-ho's small defense force, the home fleet was designed for real combat. Sir, called Lieutenant Yuna from her station, we're receiving updated intelligence on the alien fleet composition. Dong Hyun looked at the data and whistled softly. 2,000 ships. They really want to make a statement. Should we be worried, sir? Asked Ensign Kim Tae-ho. Worried? No, but we should be prepared. These aliens might not know how to fight, but they have numbers on their side. Back at the Zephyrian fleet, High Commander Vextar stood on the bridge of the flagship Eternal Dominion. This time, he wouldn't underestimate the humans. This time, he had overwhelming force. Fleet status? He asked his tactical officer. All ships ready for combat, sir. 2,000 vessels, 50 million troops prepared for orbital assault. Vextar nodded with satisfaction. The humans got lucky last time. But luck doesn't work against these numbers. What Vextar didn't know was that the human defense force that had defeated his scout fleet was about to be reinforced by something much more dangerous, the actual human military. Admiral Jiwoo sat in her command chair aboard the Incheon's Pride, watching the tactical display as her fleet approached Proxima Centauri. 200 ships against 2,000. The odds were still terrible, but she had something the aliens didn't. Experience fighting real wars. Admiral, Commander Dong Hyun's voice came over the communication system. We'll be in weapons range in 30 minutes. Understood. Signal all ships, attack formation Alpha. We're going to show these aliens what happens when they threaten human colonies. On his smaller command ship, Admiral Kyung-ho watched the home fleet arrive and felt relief wash over him. His 50 ships had been reinforced by 200 of humanity's finest warships. Sir, Ensign Habin called out. The alien fleet is moving into attack formation. Kyung-ho looked at the display. The alien ships were moving in the same perfect, predictable patterns they had used before. They hadn't learned anything from their previous defeat. Signal Admiral Jiwoo, he said. Tell her the enemy hasn't changed their tactics. Admiral Jiwoo received the message and smiled grimly. Then they're about to learn why that's a mistake. All ships prepare for combat. Let's teach these aliens what human determination looks like. High Commander Vextar watched the human ships approach and felt confident. 250 human ships against his 2,000. Even if the humans were skilled, numbers would win the day. Begin the attack, he ordered. What happened next would become known as the Battle of Ross 128, one of the most decisive victories in human military history. But as the first shots were fired, neither side knew that this battle was just the beginning of something much larger. The Zephyrian Empire was about to learn that the small force that had defeated their scout fleet wasn't humanity's army at all. It was just their neighborhood watch. The Battle of Ross 128 began at exactly 1432, Earth Standard Time. Admiral Jiwoo watched from the bridge of the Incheon's Pride as 2,000 Zephyrian ships advanced in perfect formation, their weapons already charging. "They're doing it again," she said to Commander Dong-hyun over the communication link. "Same formation, same tactics. Don't they ever learn?" "Apparently not, Admiral." "Your orders?" Jiwoo smiled coldly. "Execute Plan Chaos. Show them what real warfare looks like." Lieutenant Yuna was already strapped into her fighter, waiting for the signal. Her squadron of 20 pilots had been studying the previous battle records, and they had some new ideas to try. "All fighters, this is Yuna," she broadcast. "Remember, these aliens think in straight lines. We don't. Begin hyperspace insertion pattern." What happened next had never been seen before in galactic warfare. The human fighters didn't attack from the front like normal ships. Instead, they made tiny hyperspace jumps, appearing behind enemy lines, above them, below them, sometimes even inside their formations. High Commander Vextar watched his tactical display in growing horror as red dots representing human fighters appeared everywhere at once. His computers couldn't track them. His gunners couldn't target them. "How are they doing this?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. Their fighters are making hyperspace jumps shorter than our sensors can detect." Captain Sejun was commanding a marine assault ship when he saw an opportunity. One of the alien battleships had been damaged by fighter attacks and its shields were down. "Boarding party, prepare for assault," he ordered. "We're going to take that ship." His Marines looked at him in surprise. "Sir, we're in the middle of a space battle. You want to board an enemy ship now? Trust me. These aliens have never seen anything like this." Sejun's ship approached the alien battleship at full speed, ignoring the weapons fire around them. At the last second, his pilot fired the docking clamps and they attached to the enemy hull. "Go, go, go," Sejun shouted as his Marines cut through the alien hull with plasma torches. The Zephyrian crew inside the battleship had no idea what was happening. In 1,000 years of conquest, no one had ever boarded their ships during combat. They didn't even have protocols for dealing with it. Sejun's Marines moved through the ship like ghosts, using their knowledge of alien ship design to reach the command center. Within 20 minutes, they had captured the entire battleship from the inside. "Admiral Jiwoo, this is Captain Sejun. We have successfully captured the enemy flagship." "Repeat, we have control of their command ship." Major Hyunwoo was watching the battle from his tactical command ship when he noticed something interesting. The alien ships always responded to attacks in predictable ways. When attacked from the left, they turned right. When attacked from above, they moved down. "Computer, analyze alien response patterns," he ordered. "Analysis complete." "Enemy ships show 97% predictability in tactical responses." Hyunwoo grinned. "Then let's give them something they can't predict. All ships, implement Random Attack Pattern 7. Random Attack Pattern 7 was something human military scientists had developed after studying how animals in nature avoided predators. Instead of logical military maneuvers, the human ships began moving in completely random directions, attacking at random intervals, with no pattern at all. The Zephyrian computers couldn't handle it. Their artificial intelligence was designed to predict enemy movements based on logical military tactics. But the humans weren't being logical. They were being completely unpredictable. Admiral Kyung-ho, still commanding his original defense force, watched in amazement as the larger battle unfolded around him. The home fleet was fighting unlike anything he had ever seen. "Ensign Haben, are you recording this?" he asked. "Yes, sir." "Every second." "Good. Future generations need to see what happens when humans really go to war." Commander Dong-hyun's battleship, the Sole Defender, was in the thick of the fighting. His weapons officer, Lieutenant Park Ji-sung, had discovered something useful about the alien shields. "Sir, their shields are strong against single powerful hits, but they can't handle multiple small attacks at the same time." "Understood. Switch all weapons to rapid-fire mode. Let's overwhelm their defenses." The Sole Defender began firing everything it had in rapid bursts. Instead of one powerful laser blast, it fired hundreds of smaller ones. The alien shields designed to stop single massive attacks collapsed immediately. High Commander Vexitar felt panic rising in his chest as he watched his fleet being destroyed piece by piece. In 1 hour of combat, he had lost over 300 ships. The humans had lost only 20. "Sir," his tactical officer called out, "we're receiving surrender requests from 12 of our own ships. The humans have boarded them." "Surrender requests? From our own ships?" "Yes, sir. The human Marines somehow captured them during the battle. Vextar stared at the tactical display. This was impossible. No species in galactic history had ever fought like this. The humans seemed to think that anything was possible in war. Commander Sujin, now flying her second fighter after her first one was damaged, was having the time of her life. She had just completed her 7th kill of the battle and was looking for number 8. Sujin, this is Admiral Jiwoo. We need you to try something special. What do you have in mind, Admiral? There's an alien carrier at coordinates 77 Alpha. I want you to fly inside their hangar and disable their fighter launches. Sujin looked at the massive alien carrier on her display. Flying inside an enemy ship during combat was crazy, even by human standards. Copy that, Admiral. Beginning attack run. She dove toward the carrier at maximum speed, dodging the defensive fire. The alien hangar bay doors were open, launching fighters. Sujin flew straight through the opening and found herself inside the enemy ship. The alien pilots inside the hangar couldn't believe what they were seeing. A human fighter was flying around inside their own ship, shooting everything in sight. Sujin destroyed 6 alien fighters before they could launch, then flew back out through the hangar doors. The entire carrier was now defenseless. Dr. Min-seo was monitoring the battle from Earth, analyzing every piece of data that came through. What she was seeing confirmed her worst fears about the aliens. Admiral Tae-won, she called through the communication system. The aliens are completely unprepared for real warfare. Their entire military structure is designed for bullying defenseless planets. What's your assessment, Doctor? They're going to escalate. When this fleet is defeated, they'll send an even larger one. These aliens have never lost a war before. They don't know how to handle failure. Back at the battle, Admiral Jiwoo was coordinating the final assault. The Zephyrian fleet was in complete chaos, their formations broken, their tactics useless. All ships prepare for final attack. Let's end this. The human fleet moved forward as one unit, their weapons firing in perfect coordination. The remaining alien ships tried to retreat, but human fighters had positioned themselves behind the enemy fleet. High Commander Vextar made the hardest decision of his military career. All ships, emergency retreat. Immediate hyperspace jump. Leave the wounded. Of the 2,000 ships that had attacked the human colonies, only 400 escaped. The rest were either destroyed or captured. Admiral Jiwoo stood on her bridge, looking at the debris field that had once been the Zephyrian 7th Sector fleet. Her small force of 250 ships had just defeated the largest military fleet the galaxy had seen in centuries. Admiral, Commander Dong-hyun's voice came over the communication system. Earth Command is requesting a full report. Tell them we were successful. Tell them the alien threat has been neutralized. And if they ask about casualties, Jiwoo looked at her tactical display. 23 human ships lost. 87 damaged but repairable. Tell them we won. What Admiral Jiwoo didn't know was that news of the battle was already spreading across the galaxy. The mighty Zephyrian Empire, ruler of 10,000 worlds, had just been defeated by a small human. Fleet and High Commander Vextar was returning to the Emperor with news that would shake the foundations of the galaxy. The humans who had destroyed the 7th Sector fleet were just one of many human fleets. Earth apparently had dozens more. Emperor Zixthon paced back and forth in his throne room, his massive form casting long shadows on the crystal floor. The reports from High Commander Vextar lay scattered around him, each one more impossible than the last. 2,000 ships, he muttered to himself. 2,000 ships defeated by 200 primitives. High Commander Vextar knelt before the throne, his head bowed in shame. Around the vast chamber, other military commanders and noble advisors watched in silence. The Empire had never faced a defeat like this. Your Majesty, Vextar said quietly. The humans fight unlike any species we have encountered. They seem to think that any tactic is possible in war. Tactics? The Emperor's voice echoed off the walls. You're telling me that tactics defeated superior technology and overwhelming numbers? Not just tactics, sir. They seem to view war as a creative art, not a science. Every move they made was unexpected. Lord Commander Zekthar, one of the Emperor's oldest advisors, stepped forward. Your Majesty, perhaps we should consider diplomatic contact. If these humans are truly this dangerous, to silence. The Emperor's roar shook the chamber. The Zephyrian Empire does not negotiate with primitives. We have ruled the galaxy for 1,000 years. But even as he spoke, Emperor Zixthon could hear whispers from his own nobles. How could the mighty empire be defeated by an unknown species? Was their military truly as powerful as they believed? Your Majesty, another advisor said carefully. The noble houses are asking questions. If we cannot defeat these humans, what does that say about our strength? The Emperor stopped pacing. He knew what would happen if word of these defeats spread further. Rebellion. Revolution. The end of everything the Empire had built. Mobilize the Grand Armada, he said finally. The chamber fell silent. The Grand Armada was the Empire's ultimate weapon. Every military ship they possessed, drawn from every corner of their territory. Your Majesty, Vextar said in shock, the Grand Armada has never been assembled. It would leave our entire territory defenseless. Then we will end this quickly. 20,000 ships, 500 million troops. Even these humans cannot stand against that. Meanwhile, on Earth, President So Young was meeting with her military advisors in the underground war room beneath Geneva. The holographic displays around the room showed the scope of the approaching threat. 20,000 ships. Admiral Taiwan said grimly. That's their entire military force. Are we certain of these numbers? President So Young asked. Dr. Min Seo nodded from her position at the intelligence station. Captain Hyejung's reconnaissance mission confirmed it. The Zephyrians are mobilizing everything they have. Captain Hyejung had just returned from the most dangerous mission in human history, a deep penetration reconnaissance into Zephyrian space. What she had discovered there changed everything. Madam President, Hyejung said, the Empire is not what we thought it was. Most of their territory consists of conquered species that hate their overlords. The Zephyrians rule through fear, not loyalty. She activated a holographic map of Zephyrian space. I made contact with resistance groups on 12 different worlds. They're all asking the same question. When are the humans coming to free them? Admiral Taiwan looked at the map with interest. How many species are we talking about? At least 50 different civilizations, sir. Some have been enslaved for centuries. They're all ready to rebel if someone gives them the chance. President So Young studied the intelligence reports. So the Empire is hollow. They control through intimidation. Exactly. And now that word of our victories is spreading, that intimidation is failing. The Emperor is facing rebellions on multiple worlds. Dr. Minseo brought up another display. This explains their military doctrine. They've never fought actual wars because they've never needed to. They just threaten orbital bombardment, and civilizations surrender. Until now, Admiral Taiwan said grimly. President So Young made a decision that would change galactic history. Admiral, I'm authorizing Protocol 7, activate the Liberation Fleet. The room fell silent. Protocol 7 hadn't been used in over 200 years, not since humanity's last great civil war. The Liberation Fleet was designed not for conquest but for freeing oppressed peoples. Madam President, Admiral Taiwan said carefully. Are you sure? The Liberation Fleet is our most specialized force. If we deploy it now, Admiral, we're not just fighting for our own survival anymore. We're fighting for the freedom of 50 enslaved civilizations. That's exactly what the Liberation Fleet was designed for. Captain Hyejung stepped forward. Madam President, I volunteer to return to Zephyrian space. The resistance groups need coordination. Approved. Take whatever ships you need. Commander Su Jin was on Mars, refitting her fighter after the Battle of Ross 128. When the recall order came through, all pilots were to report immediately for special assignment. What's happening? She asked Lieutenant Yuna as they walked toward the briefing room. No idea, but they're calling up pilots from every fleet in the system. The briefing room was packed with humanity's best military officers. Admiral Jiwoo stood at the front, her expression serious. Ladies and gentlemen, she began, we are facing the largest military threat in human history. The Zephyrian Grand Armada consists of 20,000 ships. Murmurs of concern rippled through the room. However, Jiwoo continued, this is also the greatest opportunity in human history. Captain Hyejung's reconnaissance has revealed that the Empire is rotten from within. We have the chance to not just defeat this armada, but to liberate an entire galaxy. Commander Dong Hyun raised his hand. Admiral, what are our orders? We're not going to wait for them to attack our colonies. We're taking the fight to them. The Liberation Fleet will engage the Grand Armada in Zephyrian space, supported by resistance forces from 50 worlds. Major Hyunwoo looked at the tactical projections. Ma'am, the Liberation Fleet only has 500 ships. How do we fight 20,000? Jiwoo smiled grimly. We don't fight them ship to ship. We fight them revolution to revolution. Every conquered species that joins us makes the Empire weaker. Back in Zephyrian space, the news of the Liberation Fleet's deployment was spreading like wildfire among the resistance groups. Species that had been enslaved for generations suddenly had hope. On the world of Kethera, Commander Velnox read the human message with trembling hands. "They're really coming," she whispered to her fellow rebels. "The humans are coming to free us." Similar scenes were playing out on dozens of worlds. The Altarians prepared their hidden weapons caches. The Centaurians began sabotaging Zephyrian supply lines. The Vegan resistance started recruiting new members. Emperor Zixthon received reports of the growing rebellions with growing alarm. "How many worlds are in open revolt?" he demanded. 17 so far, Your Majesty. But the number is growing daily. And the humans? Intelligence suggests they have deployed a specialized fleet. Estimated strength, 500 ships. The Emperor laughed bitterly. 500 ships against 20,000? Are they insane? High Commander Vextar, who had fought the humans twice, wasn't so confident. Your Majesty, the humans don't think like we do. They might have a plan we haven't considered. What plan could possibly overcome such odds? Vextar looked at the rebellion reports. What if they're not trying to defeat us militarily? What if they're trying to turn our own subjects against us? The Emperor's eyes widened as he understood the implication. If the conquered species joined the humans, the 20,000 ships of the Grand Armada would face not just 500 human vessels, but thousands of rebel ships as well. Mobilize the Armada immediately, he ordered. We end this before the rebellion spread further. Yes, Your Majesty. Where shall we engage the humans? Emperor Zixthon looked at the star charts showing the spreading rebellions. Everywhere. We hunt them down and destroy them before they can unite our enemies against us. What the Emperor didn't realize was that the humans had no intention of running. Admiral Jiwu's Liberation Fleet was heading straight for the heart of Zephyrian space, broadcasting a simple message to every enslaved world. Freedom has arrived. Join us and we will fight together. The age of Zephyrian oppression is over. The stage was set for the largest battle in galactic history. 20,000 ships of the Grand Armada against 500 human vessels and an unknown number of rebel allies. But as both fleets prepared for the final confrontation, neither side knew the complete truth. The Liberation Fleet wasn't even humanity's main military force. It was just one specialized unit among many. And the Zephyrian Grand Armada, for all its size, was about to learn what happened when bullies finally met someone willing to fight back. The Liberation Fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Zephyrian capital system, like an ancient prophecy coming to life. Admiral Jiwu stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Freedom's Dawn, watching as 500 human ships took their positions. Admiral, Commander Dong Hyun reported from his battleship, we're receiving signals from resistance forces on 14 worlds in this system alone. Jiwu nodded grimly. Patch me through to all resistance leaders. The holographic display filled with alien faces from a dozen different species. They looked at her with expressions of hope mixed with desperation. This is Admiral Jiwu of the Human Liberation Fleet, she said. Today we keep our promise. Today, you are free. A voice came from one of the aliens, a reptilian creature with scarred features. Admiral, I am Commander Velnox of the Ketheran Resistance. We have been waiting for this day for 300 years. How many ships can your people provide? Jiwu asked. 200 combat vessels hidden in the asteroid fields. They are old, but they will fight. Similar reports came in from other resistance leaders. The Altarians had hidden 100 ships in their moon bases. The Centaurians had converted cargo vessels into improvised warships. The Vegans had somehow stolen an entire Zephyrian battle squadron. Total count? Jiwu asked her tactical officer. Approximately 1,500 rebel ships, Admiral. Most are lightly armed, but they know the local systems better than anyone. Jiwu smiled. The Liberation Fleet had just tripled in size without firing a shot. Meanwhile, the Zephyrian Grand Armada was approaching through hyperspace. Emperor Zixthon had taken personal command, his massive flagship Eternal. Dominion leading 20,000 ships in the largest military formation the galaxy had ever seen. Status. Report, the Emperor demanded from his command throne. All fleet elements in position. Your Majesty, High Commander Vextar replied. 20,000 ships, 500 million troops ready for deployment. And the human fleet? Intelligence reports 500 ships, but they appear to have made contact with rebel forces. Estimated enemy strength now 2,000 vessels. The Emperor's eyes blazed with fury. 2,000 ships against 20,000. They think numbers will save them? Your Majesty, Vextar said carefully, the humans have defeated us before with worse odds, not against the full might of the Empire. Today we end this threat forever. The Grand Armada dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. Their ships stretched across space like a metal constellation. It was the most impressive military display in galactic history. Admiral Jiwoo watched them arrive and felt a moment of doubt. 20,000 ships. Even with rebel support, the odds were still 10 to 1. Admiral, Lieutenant Yuna called from her fighter squadron. All pilots ready for launch. Admiral, Major Hyunwoo reported from the marine assault ships. Boarding teams are standing by. Admiral, Commander Sujin added from her position leading the reconnaissance wing. We've identified the enemy flagship. It's massive, Jiwoo took a deep breath. All ships, this is Admiral Jiwoo. Today we fight not just for humanity, but for every enslaved species in this galaxy. Today we prove that freedom is stronger than oppression. All units engage at will. The battle began with the rebels striking first. Commander Velnox led her Catharan ships in a surprise attack on the Zephyrian left flank. Their old weapon systems blazing with desperate fury. The Altarians attacked from above, their moon-based fighters swarming around the massive Zephyrian battleships like angry insects. The Centaurians, who had spent decades studying Zephyrian military doctrine, targeted the enemy command ships with precision strikes. Emperor Zixthon watched the initial attacks with contempt. Primitive rebels with outdated weapons. Signal all ships, destroy them. But as the Grand Armada turned to engage the rebels, the human liberation fleet struck from an unexpected direction. Commander Dong Hyun's battleship Soul Defender led a formation of heavy cruisers straight through the center of the Zephyrian line. Their weapons had been upgraded specifically for this battle, firing rounds that could punch through the strongest alien armor. Multiple enemy ships disabled, he reported. The new kinetic weapons are working perfectly. Lieutenant Yuna's fighter squadron was implementing a new tactic they had developed after studying the previous battles. Instead of attacking individual ships, they were targeting the communication arrays that connected the Zephyrian fleet, jamming their command frequencies, she reported, as her fighters darted between the massive enemy vessels. Their coordination is breaking down. Major Hyunwoo was leading the most audacious part of the battle plan. His marine assault ships were actually boarding Zephyrian vessels during the height of combat, not to capture them, but to broadcast surrender offers to the alien crews. This is Major Hyunwoo of the Human Liberation Fleet, he announced over the captured communication systems. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly. Continue fighting and you will be destroyed with your oppressors. The response surprised everyone. Zephyrian crews began surrendering by the hundreds. Many of them had never wanted to fight this war in the first place. High Commander Vextar watched his fleet's formation collapse and felt the familiar taste of defeat. Your Majesty, we're losing ships faster than we can count. The rebels know our weaknesses too well. Emperor Zixthon refused to believe what he was seeing. Impossible. We outnumber them 10 to 1. Numbers don't matter if the enemy knows exactly where to hit us, Vextar replied. These rebels have been studying our ships for centuries. Commander Sujin was flying her fighter through the chaos of battle when she spotted something that made her heart race. The Emperor's flagship, the Eternal Dominion, was alone, separated from its escort ships by the swirling combat. Admiral Jiwoo, this is Sujin. I have a clear run at the enemy flagship. Negative, Sujin. That ship is too heavily armed. Ma'am, if we can capture their Emperor, the war ends immediately. Jiwoo considered the option for a moment. It was incredibly dangerous, but Sujin was right. Capturing the Emperor would end the conflict instantly. All right, Commander, but you're not going alone. Major Hyunwoo, can you get a boarding team to that flagship? Already on my way, Admiral. Sujin, meet us at the ship's docking bay. The assault on the Eternal Dominion became the stuff of legend. Commander Sujin flew her fighter directly into the flagship's hangar bay, clearing the way for Major Hyunwoo's Marines. The Zephyrian guards inside the ship had never faced human Marines in close combat. Hyunwoo's team moved through the corridors like shadows, using tactics that no alien could predict. Emperor Zixthon was on his command bridge when the Marines arrived. He stood 12 feet tall, his armor gleaming, his weapons ready. So, he said in perfect English, The human demons have come for me personally. Major Hyunwoo stepped forward, his weapon lowered. Your Majesty, the war is over. Your fleet is surrendering. Order them to stand down and no more lives need to be lost. Never. The Empire will never surrender to primitives. Your empire is gone, Your Majesty. Look at your tactical displays. Half your fleet has already surrendered. The other half is being destroyed by their own former slaves. For the first time in his life, Emperor Zixthon looked at his tactical screens and saw the truth. The Grand Armada was not just losing. It was collapsing. Ships were surrendering faster than they were being destroyed. The rebellions had spread to his own crews. Zephyrians who had served the Empire faithfully were laying down their weapons rather than die for a system that had already failed. This is impossible, he whispered. This is freedom, Major Hyunwoo replied. Your choice, Your Majesty. Surrender and live, or fight and die with your empire. Admiral Jiwoo's voice came over the communication system. All Zephyrian vessels, this is Admiral Jiwoo of the Human Liberation Fleet. Your emperor has been captured. The war is over. Any ship that surrenders will be treated with honor. Any ship that continues fighting will be destroyed. The response was immediate. Across the battlefield, Zephyrian ships began broadcasting surrender signals. Some tried to flee, but the rebel forces, now numbering in the thousands, blocked their escape routes. Within 6 hours, the Grand Armada had ceased to exist. Some ships were destroyed, some captured, but most simply surrendered when their crews realized the empire they had served was gone. Commander Velnox stood on the bridge of her old Catharan cruiser, watching the Zephyrian flagship lower its shields in surrender. After 3 centuries of slavery, her people were free. Admiral Jiwoo, she called over the communication link. On behalf of all the liberated worlds, thank you. Admiral Jiwoo looked out at the debris field that had once been the mighty Grand Armada and felt a mixture of satisfaction and sadness. 20,000 ships reduced to scrap metal and surrender. Commander Dong-hyun, she called to her tactical officer. Casualty report. 47 ships lost from the Liberation Fleet. Approximately 200 rebel vessels destroyed. Enemy losses. It's hard to count, Admiral. Most of their fleet surrendered rather than be destroyed. Jiwoo nodded. The battle was won, but the work was just beginning. 50 worlds needed new governments. Millions of former slaves needed food, shelter, and hope for the future. Signal Earth, she ordered. Tell them the Zephyrian Empire has fallen.